We got some Minnesota Vikings training camp winners and losers on tap on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Welcome in with Minnesota Vikings training camp now finishing day 6 yesterday. I thought it was a good time to hop in the lab and hop in my bag and give you guys 5 winners and 3 losers on today's show. And I do want to preface it before we get started. There really are no true losers yet per se. Like, obviously these guys, they can have a bad day at practice, they can have whatever, but I still hopped in the lab and gave you guys 3 losers so far from training camp. But before we hop into it, guys, we actually are starting a sub battle here at Chat Sports. My man Trace here, he runs the Saints channel, and we decided to do a little August sub battle. So it was August 1st yesterday, and we picked up 10 new subscribers, but they picked up 13. So if you guys want to help us out and just beat the Saints, because I'm still not over 2009 when they tried to put Brett Favre in the hospital. So if you guys want to stick it to the Saints, free, easy way, just hit that sub button. Now let's get into the number 1 winner from training camp. And this is no shocker to you guys, but this is the best wide receiver in the NFL, number 18, Justin Jefferson. And he has been absolutely dominating training camp. Like, any corner that has been put on him during camp in a one-on-one drill, he has absolutely taken advantage of him. And this was actually what Vikings legend Chris Carter had to say about Jefferson after they met during, I think it was day 4 of Vikings training camp. He said, "I was really proud talking with Jefferson yesterday. He told me he's worked on a couple of different things to make his game even better this year. The best wide receiver in football got better this offseason, scary for the league." And I just got to ask the question, can he even get better? Like, can Jefferson take that next step? Throughout his first 3 seasons in the NFL, he has the most yards of all time. He's got the most yards per game in NFL history. Like, any statistical category you want to lump Jefferson to as the receiver position in the first 3 years, he's probably at a top of that list. But it's just scary for the league knowing that number 18 could potentially keep on getting better for the purple and gold. And he was 5th in MVP voting last season. Who knows? Maybe Jefferson could be one of the first wide receivers in NFL history, dating back to, I believe it was like Jerry Rice was the last one to win MVP. But who knows? Maybe Jefferson could be one of the first to ever do it. But number 2 on my list is the safety out of the University of Georgia, Lewis Cine, as he has been recovering from the leg fracture last season that occurred in the Saints game in London. And Lewis Cine has been absolutely turning heads at training camp. He had a sweet interception. It was actually when Kirk Cousins was targeting Justin Jefferson. He was running kind of a hitch route on the wide side of the field. Lewis Cine bolted towards the football, made a diving interception, and it was an unreal play for a guy who obviously was coming off that compound leg fracture. But the fact that he's probably going to be, or he is going to be 100% by week 1 when Tampa Bay comes to Minnesota, I think that's pretty special. And it's just cool to see that, all that hard work that Cine's been putting in this offseason. We've seen the training videos of him in the Vikings organization, getting that extra work in and staying after practice. It's just good to see that, all that hard work is paying off. But we got another safety coming in at number 3 on this list. It's the man out of Michigan, Josh Metellus, as he has been a sleeper kind of dark horse player to take that next step under Brian Flores. Obviously, Metellus last season, he was in and out of the rotation. He stepped in a couple games when Cam Bynum got hurt. Obviously, we know Lewis Cine was lost for the year, so Cam Bynum got majority of those safety reps. But then Josh Metellus, he stepped in and limited reps last season, and he was actually great. PFF ranked him as the best safety on the Vikings roster, and I really do think with Brian Flores using his versatility, I think we can get the most out of Metellus this year. You can drop him in a deep zone. You can bring him in the box. You can hop him in the nickel. He can really guard multiple positions on defense and play multiple roles. And, what we've heard out of training camp is that he is one of the most intelligent players that Brian Flores has ever coached. Well, if you're intelligent and you're versatile, you're probably going to work out during Brian Flores' system. Metellus is one of those guys, sneaky guy, that I'm very excited to watch play next season. Number 4 on my winners from training camp list, it's the UDFA Ivan Pace Jr. Ivan Pace Jr., the hard-hitting linebacker out of the University of Cincinnati. I think he's got an outside shot to be the starting linebacker next to Brian Asamoah. We know Asamoah and Jordan Hicks, they're going to get majority of those first-team reps, especially early in the season. But so far at training camp, this guy right here, Ivan Pace, has been sneakily getting a lot of first-team reps next to Brian Asamoah, and I can just see it now. Those two Sundays, in U.S. Bank Stadium, a little undersized maybe for the linebacker position. Both sit around 6 foot, but they're fast. They can guard, and they come down and they hit hard. Apparently, Ivan Pace put Alexander Madison on his back one day at training camp. Then apparently Brian Asamoah a couple plays later put Ty Chandler on his back. It's just funny to see first padded practice. You really see these linebackers starting to hit, and nobody hits harder probably on this team. Maybe Harrison Smith, but then this guy right here, Ivan Pace Jr. Shout out to him. Apparently Brian Flores loves him as well, so maybe he could be the starting linebacker next to Asamoah in the weeks to come. But number 5 here on my list is Jalen Reagor. I can't believe I'm putting Jalen Reagor on this list. You know, the infamous pick before Justin Jefferson back in the 2020 NFL draft. But he's been turning heads at training camp so far. He had a couple of nice plays that have kind of gone viral on the Twitter sphere, I guess you could say. But he had this sweet little toe tap drag swag, however you want to call it. He was on the sideline. Kirk was rolling out. Threw him an absolute dart, and he caught it, dragged his toe, got both feet in. But he's been turning heads. Like, we obviously all know with Jalen Reagor, you know, he has the athletic ability. You know, he has the twitchiness. He has the shiftiness to be a really solid receiver in the NFL. It's just all the other things. It's the little things with him. It's not getting down on himself. Like, we've seen it last year, like multiple times, when whether he would run a wrong route or make the wrong read or whatever it may be, he would be seen pouting on the sidelines or kind of saying, like, you know, my bad or whatever it may be. But the one thing I do like about Reagor, he was always supportive of his teammates last season, even when he was out of the rotation, and we've seen it at training camp. Like, anytime there's a big-time play, I feel like it's always number 5, Reagor, you know, hyping his teammates up. So, obviously, if Reagor, maybe he could sneak in and be the wide receiver 4 over a guy like Jalen Nailor this year, but apparently he's been turning heads, so keep your eyes out on number 5 from TCU. But I ask you guys, this will be the pinned comment on today's video. Who has impressed you the most so far during camp? I just gave you 5 names. You just got to give me one. From what you've heard, whether it's on Twitter or, you know, me talking right now, Nate, give me a name that has impressed you so far the most during Minnesota Vikings training camp. So the losers from camp, and again, I said this at the top of the show, you know, there's no real true losers here. But number 1 on my list is actually cornerback number 1, and that's Byron Murphy. You know, really, is he a true loser? I think it's just because maybe that video that kind of went viral on Vikings Twitter of Jefferson just absolutely dogging him in a one-on-one rep. He broke off his route at the top of the tree, and he left Byron Murphy kind of sitting in the dust there. But Byron Murphy, I mean, he's had a, you know, shaky start, I could say, to his tenure with the Vikings. Very up and down here at practice. But, you know, I'm a big fan of Byron Murphy. Like, I thought he was the best free agent NFL corner the Vikings could pick up. And just overall, like, you know, we know with this Vikings cornerback room, like, they're going to need somebody to step up as that cornerback 1. And, you know, with guys like Andrew Booth and Caleb Evans, you know, dealing with injuries last season, like could the Vikings maybe, you know, look to another guy to be that kind of true lockdown corner? Apparently Brian Flores was putting him in the slot a little bit as well. But right now, where the Vikings cornerback room kind of shakes out, like, you know, obviously I got him slated as cornerback 1 right now, and I don't really expect that to change. But, you know, we've heard Evans and Booth both look really solid so far at camp. And then also a guy like Mekhi Blackmon has been getting a ton of reps with the first team as well. So Byron Murphy, even though he's getting paid and treated like the cornerback 1 so far for this team, just don't be too shocked if maybe a guy like Booth, Evans, or Blackmon take over that role. But, guys, I got 2 more losers for you in a second, but we got a great deal going on at chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. We got Jefferson jerseys. We got Cousins jerseys. We even got old vets on this team, Harrison Smith jerseys. And also, if maybe you want to go back to an NFL legend, you could even get a Randy Moss jersey as well. Just make sure you use our link. They're on sale right now, only if you head to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. I'll make sure to put that link in the comment section and the description on today's show. So make sure you get your Vikings jersey right now. Go get a Cousins, Smith, or Jefferson, or even a Randy Moss. Whatever you want, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Number 2 on my list is actually Nick Mullens. And you might be saying, how is Nick Mullens a loser on this list? Well, it's actually because of the emergence of Jaren Hall at training camp. You know, I thought Nick Mullens was going to be no doubt the quarterback 2 heading into the next year for the Vikings, because I just didn't really think, you know, a 5th-round rookie out of BYU would really have a chance to, you know, overtake Mullens as that quarterback 2 this upcoming year. But apparently Jaren Hall has looked good in spots. Like, he's had a very up and down start to training camp. That's what I kind of expected from the 5th-round rookie. But apparently he's being extremely communicative, you guys know what I'm trying to say there, with Kevin O'Connell and trying to figure out his role. And obviously Nick Mullens did miss a practice, So then Jaren Hall had to step in and get all the quarterback 2 reps. Just something to keep your eye out. I do still expect maybe the Vikings to keep 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. But if they had to only go to 2 quarterbacks for a couple games, I think I'm leaning it's going to be Jaren Hall right now. Still 50-50, but my gut's just telling me that they would give the nod to the rookie out of BYU. And now the third loser from training camp, it's the NFL. With all of this kind of talk around the Minnesota Vikings, like, oh, they won 11 one-score games last season. They were 11-0 in those games, and there's no way they can, do it again. They had the worst defense in the league. They couldn't run the football. I'm just going to say this. The NFL is, you guys can fill in the blank there, because I think the Vikings offense, it's going to be better in year 2 under Kevin O'Connell. You add in a guy like Josh Oliver. You add in a guy like Jordan Addison to create more separation, who has absolutely dominated training camp as well. I could throw him as a winner too. I could throw Josh Oliver as a winner as well, as he's apparently been mauling dudes in the run game. I think the Vikings, they were 26 in rushing last season, one of the worst defenses in the league, if not the worst defense in the league, and they still won 13 games. I think the schedule was a little harder than last year, and yes, I don't expect the Vikes to go 11-0 in one-score games. I think the Vikings are probably going to be sitting around maybe not the 13-4, but maybe the 11-6, 10-7 kind of record. But I think they're overall going to be a better team. And I think defensively, I can't understate the value of going from a guy like Ed Donatel to a guy like Brian Flores. A guy like Ed Donatel who sat back in the soft zone coverage and kind of just let the offense do what they want. When in comparison, now we got a guy like Brian Flores who's sending blitzers left and right, blitzing guys from different positions, and just really keeping the other team's offenses off guard. There was a clip that went viral for Vikings training camp where he actually sent Harrison Smith on a blitz twice on back-to-back plays, and he got home. I just think the rest of the NFL is a little bit screwed when they're undervaluing the Minnesota Vikings. Well, I ask you guys, who are you most excited to watch play next season? I think I'm leaning actually maybe a little Josh Metellus. I'm going to go Josh Metellus on this one, just from the hype I've heard out of camp. But I ask you guys, with what you've seen so far during training camp, give me a player that you are excited to watch next season. And if you guys want more training camp videos, you can also hit me up on Twitter at Pat Siepman. I'm tweeting them out all day long as Vikings training camp's going on. And then obviously throughout preseason and then the regular season, then maybe the playoffs with the Vikes if they can get back there next year. But give me a follow on Twitter at Pat Siepman. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.